Act 2 of Extra Time this week, we are on the road again, just like Willie Nelson.
Sing it. Sing it out.
On the road again. It's always hard to get points away from home. You don't have the home cooking. You have to go through all that airport security, SpectraVision in the hotels. But week 1 saw 3 very big road wins. New England went out to San Jose, got a 1-0 win. Toronto down in Kansas City, 3-2. Chicago down in Dallas, 3-1. They rolled over Dallas. Shep, which was the most impressive road win for you?
Well, Greg, let's take away from Chicago because we both predicted it.
Yeah,
I think they're the better team. New England, what a great win. Every coach will say the perfect game is a victory on the road, 1-0. But I think Toronto, I think that for me was the most impressive. A shootout in a hostile environment in Kansas City. They got great goals. They survived 2 spectacular goals by Davy Arnau, 3-2 on the road. So New England and Toronto, both great.
Amado Guevara with those 2 goals. I'm actually going to go with New England in this one because they were missing so many players. No Taylor Twellman, no Steve Ralston, no Chris Albright. The young guys did really well coming in. Yep. Kevin Alston was on the right side, and he shut down Darren Huckabee. It was really impressive to watch.
They survived, though, early because Cam Weaver had some golden opportunities to give them the lead. Maybe that game would have gone differently, but missing those key players, I have to agree, miraculous. Yep. Great victory for Steve
Nicol must be very happy. Well, speaking of traveling, the U.S. national team is traveling this week, as are Chivas in Houston, and they'll be missing players because of the U.S. games that are coming up this week. Chivas USA will be missing Sasha Kljestan. Brian Ching from Houston will also be away with the U.S. when they take on El Salvador in El Salvador on Saturday, and they take on Trinidad next week. 2 other teams will be missing players because of the U.S. call-ins. Colorado loses Pablo Mastroeni, and Columbus loses Frankie Hejduk. Landon Donovan was called in, but Los Angeles has a bye. So the question is, which team of these 4 do you think is hurt the most? Colorado, Chivas USA, Houston, or Columbus?
Well, Greg, first of all, this is a measure of good teams all over the world. When you have big players, you are going to lose them. It's a question of how do you compensate. I think it's easier to replace that attacking player like a Sasha Kljestan or a Brian Ching. I think for Colorado, they'll be hurt the most because of positionally what Pablo Mastroeni means to that team. I think he's tougher to replace.
Well, I think that Nick LaBrocca's looked really good in there for them, so I think he could be that. For me, it's Sasha Kljestan. It's so hard to replace a guy like Sasha Kljestan in the midfield who can control those things for you.
Great player, but Galindo came in the second half and turned that game around, so maybe he gets a start.
That's true. Well, arguably, actually, the team that will be hurt the most this week are the Chicago Fire, who will lose Bakary Samari, who's off with Mali, and Gonzalo Segares for Costa Rica. They have some replacements, though. John Thornton can drop back from the midfield into the defense. Brandon Perdeau, if he's healthy, he could come in there as well. So they should be okay. They're still, for me, the best team.
Yeah, it's the opportunity for other players to say, hey, I can get the job done, get in the starting 11. I think Toronto really gets hurt as well because not only did they lose Amado Guevara to Honduras, but Carl Robinson to Wales. And Robinson, his job would have been to Mark Schelotto. Sam Cronin, though, the rookie, maybe he has to step up and Mark Schelotto.
What did you think of him over the last weekend when he was on the right side?
I thought he did a great job, but it's another job, it's another challenge to step up and man Mark Schelotto.
Well, they call him Mini Robo up there in Toronto after Carl Robinson. That's pretty high praise right there. We have an email. It came in a few weeks ago, actually, speaking of Toronto, when we were discussing TFC's goalkeeping situation. Fly from Parts Unknown asks why Greg Sutton gets no love after saving Toronto countless times last year. I have to admit, I hammer Greg Sutton somewhat.
Yeah, I did as well. and sometimes it's difficult for a goalkeeper like Greg Sutton. Last year, when a team on the defensive side of the ball, Toronto was not a good team defensively. It's your opportunity to shine and really stand out. But I think he really, it was cumulative. He got worn down. They drafted a great pick. He was born in Switzerland, Fry, and he got the start. I think that's his job.
How do you think Fry did? He did let in 2 goals. I mean, they were stunning goals from Davy Arnau, but he let them in.
I think he did a good job in terms of general command on the road in a hostile environment. Those were 2 great upper 90 strikes by Davy Arnau, so the young kid looked good.
Well, Stefan Fry, in his first game in MLS, gets the win for Toronto. And tomorrow in Act 3, we'll look at some of the big Eastern Conference matchups coming up this weekend.